Good evening. This is the Dominance Academy. I'm your professor for the evening, Mr. Justin. And if you're good with recognizing music, you'll know where these samples came from. Yes, tonight we're going to be talking about why women want to get fucked by a man who just gets it. So let's jump right in. There's just an essential question to really understand what this is, like what's really going on. Okay, just 1 second, sorry. Yeah, so there's an essential question, right, to think about, and then you'll get your head wrapped around the proper things here. And that question is, what kills arousal the most? And this is the case for both men and women. And the answer is thinking. Thinking kills arousal. This is you, and if you ponder that for a moment, you can, if you've had sex before, you can probably recall that you weren't thinking about anything. Like you can't recall having thoughts while you're having great sex. If you are thinking, then you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't be in that thinking state. And I can guarantee that if the woman is enthralled in the sexual act, she too will not be thinking. And that's when she loses herself. And that's when you can become immersed as well. Thinking is the thing that draws us out of our bodies and into our head. So we're going to be discussing more than that tonight. But that is an essential key factor to having good sex with women. So I hope you guys are doing well, and you're having a good weekend. It's finally warming up a little bit here in New York, but my heater's still kicking on, so that's where it's up. So why do women want to get fucked by a man who just gets it, a man who just knows what to do? And basically, a woman's arousal is rooted in her ability to relinquish control and get lost in the moment. That's basically it. She wants to turn off her mind and get into her body and get into her emotions. She wants to be enveloped into what she's doing, to the point where self and action becomes blurred. That's what she wants. And the man, therefore, should not be asking her for directions, should not be asking her permissions. And because when he does this, like in the middle of the act, this engages her rational mind and it pulls her out of her body and reduces desire. And so she can be like getting turned on. Like, let's say, let's say you're using your hands on her pussy and you're doing something, and then you stop and look at her and go, like this, is this okay? And so you're asking her a question, and she kind of, let's say she's in the middle of getting turned on. She has to snap out of that state, get into thinking, process the question that you had, analyze her body, and then respond to you. So she's been brought out of that emotional state. Now, if you're doing it right, and let's say she does respond to you, it's probably just going to be like a quick yes, right? But you don't even want to go there. You don't even want to bring her to that place. And, for the obvious reasons, because I just said that it brings her out of her body. But also this characterizes you as someone who doesn't know what he's doing, that second guesses himself, that is trying to placate to her. And this is no good. Okay. It's better. Look at this. It's better to not be of that mindset, be more just immersed in what you're doing and make a mistake versus being too attentive and asking for direction and guidance, but do everything right, so to speak. Like you don't make any mistakes. That's much better. Like, let's say let's say, just for instance, you're in the moment, you're feeling everything, and you grab her by a fistful of hair, and you yank her head back, right, to look at you or something like that. And let's say she's not into that at all, right? And this will like snap her out of it, right? And be either whether it's a lot or a little, depends on the person. But she might be like, "Oh, I don't like that," right? That's fine. And then you just say, "Okay," and you stop. That's much better because you're following your instincts. You're like, "Oh, this is what I want to do. This is just," like, you're not even like thinking in those terms. You just do it, and it turns out that it was not right for that girl. That's much better than in the moment of things. You were about to grab her hair and you stop and you say, Excuse me, is it okay if I pull your hair now?" Like, that's gonna completely kill everything. And um and she like, that's just no. Like, no, it's not okay. So you've done what's right according to her preferences, but it's like it totally kills the vibe. And now you kind of have to go back in and, like, and that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to have a bad sexual experience, but just coming from like the understanding of where girls heads are at, that's not where they want to be. Like, when they fantasize, they're not fantasizing about the guy checking in with her. Okay. Granted, in her mind, the guy that she's with is absolutely perfect. In her mind, she doesn't imagine him fumbling anything. Okay. Like, I'm pretty good. I know what I'm doing, to the point where I can teach this stuff, but I'm not far from, or I'm not like exempt from making mistakes. Of course, I make mistakes, but that's just what it is. Like, that's part of living, that's part of growing and part of learning. You make mistakes. But I'm not afraid of that. And I think that's one of the bigger issues, is that guys are so afraid of making mistakes. Oh, what if I make her upset? Like, come on, you're not breaking bones. You're not opening her skin. She's bleeding. You're not bruising and things of that nature. Basically, it's just your pride. And so when you're on the path of honesty with being a man, you don't hide behind your pride. Like, that's not something that's sacred and that cannot be touched. Okay. uh, it's a very big thing to really take on. Like, that's it's an important aspect that should not be just glossed over. The idea that your pride is not sacred. Like, you cannot become a man, you cannot become a good lover by hiding behind your pride. It just won't work. Not at all. Like, the best of like everything, except for the very few who were just so extremely gifted at something that they rarely, if ever, made mistakes. Everyone who's good at something has made mistakes, and that's just the way it is. I don't know if my dog is going crazy. Is that is that witching hour? Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, great. Thanks, Mitch. Yeah. Yeah, they're all on Kindle. How to Be a Dominant Lover, the Codex of the Sovereign Order, and the Annals of the Elite Queen. I actually need to do some editing on the How to Be a Dominant Lover for the print edition. Like, I got like the copy that I have. The margins are all off. The formatting is weird, so I have to redo it. So, um, so go by this saying, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Yeah, exactly. It's easier to apologize than to ask for permission. Like, a lot easier. So, yeah. So that's definitely like the basic mindset for sure. So, so really, like, a woman, she wants a man to be genuinely dominant, someone who just gets it and takes initiative without being told. And if a man needs to be taught dominance or taught masculinity by a woman, by her, like, he's not the man that she desires. Like, a man, like, in her head, he just does the thing. Okay. Like, again, like, granted, her mind is perfect, in the sense that, like, she's um she's seeing him uh as this ultimate guy in bed, and she's like fantasizing and playing with herself. So this is nothing to be compared with. It's just understand that in her head, she's not expecting mistakes. Okay. And that's fine. Like, that's unrealistic, but we're not trying to meet that standard, or trying to meet her fantasy as a standard. It's just know that like when it comes to her feelings and her perceptions and like just what she would most likely want to desire, it doesn't include um, asking for permission. It doesn't include expecting mistakes. But it's better to make mistakes than to ask for permission. So just go with your instinct. Okay. Okay. So before we go any further, there's two essential qualities for a man to embody this. Okay. And so this is having like a rock solid trust in yourself, very high confidence. Okay. So this just means don't doubt yourself. The second guessing, like when you second guess an action in your head, it comes off in your body. And she can feel that. She will absolutely feel that hesitance, right? So you don't want her to feel this, okay? Like shit, you don't want to feel this. It's not a good feeling to second guess yourself. Um, Certainty feels good, okay? And you just push out doubt. Because seriously, like, what are you doubting? You're doubting what if she doesn't like it? Which all that stuff, all that doubt can basically be whittled down to the fear of rejection. And because of if that's there, then that means that you're trying to perform for her. So you got to get rid of that too. Sex is about enjoyment, it's not performance. I mean, unless you're getting paid for it or some shit like that, like you're on porn, like you're a porn actor or something. So, so that first, so those two qualities is having rock solid confidence and having trust in yourself, okay, which is connected to knowing what you want. So in the example that I gave about pulling her hair, for example, that's knowing what you want. Like, oh, I want to pull her hair, okay, and so by the way, when you do pull hair, you want to get as close to the scalp as possible. You don't want to have hair in between her scalp and your hand. You want to get right up on the scalp. One, it doesn't damage the hair as much, and two, you get a lot more control. Okay, so so you need to know what you want. You need to know what you want to do. You need to know what you're into. So this has to do with, this can go very deep if you go down that road, okay? Because then that comes into like understanding your kinks, understanding your sexual desires, understanding how you want to feel in the bedroom. Because like some guys are like, oh, I want to feel this. They believe like sex is like more like a spiritual thing. Other guys are like very pragmatic, and it's just like, no, this is just a physical thing that we enjoy. Other guys, they look at it well in like so many different ways. But and that's fine. Like you can look at sex or relate to sex in whatever way you want to. I'm not being prescriptive here. But the point is that you should know how you want to feel, like what it means to you, what this like sex means to you. And that then goes down even in like a deeper rabbit hole, because a lot of guys, you use sex as a means of feeling better about yourself. That's where like the whole conquest things comes in. That's where the whole validation thing comes in. Wanting to be her best, that's where that comes in. So there's like a lot of layers here, as well as like the performance and those sort of things. So it's really hard to have confidence and knowing your desires and trust in yourself if you are if you're wanting to look like the best in her eyes. And also it's going to be really hard to immerse yourself if you're trying to be the best. It's going to be really hard. So you kind of have to let all that shit go. I've had a couple of guys who are very much locked into that sort of mindset of performing for the girl, and it's really, really unhealthy. And you cannot become. It's funny, you cannot become the good lover that you want to be. So it's sort of that thing that I bring up a lot. That quote from Kung Fu Panda. Where Oogway is talking with Shifu, and he says, oftentimes the road that we take to avoid or oftentimes we meet our destiny on the road we take to avoid it. So the guys who are trying to perform to be the best, to avoid rejection, and avoid being seen as the worst or just bad, they often meet that destiny. They often develop the perception that you're a bad lover, and you don't know what you're doing, and that you can be seen for your performance. And so it's funny, like, so you have to let go of this performance. You have to let go of the seeking validation through sex. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, getting sex means nothing. It means absolute nothing. It doesn't make you into a man. It doesn't mean that you're highly desirable, right? Um, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't give you worth. It doesn't make you better or worse compared to other men. It it doesn't mean anything. Like, and the reason being is that it's a basic human function. Uh, Certainly, it's not as um, readily accessible as breathing and eating, but it's still within that same range of human activities. Okay, it's not as like apart from our humanity as, say, like watching movies. Okay, like watching movies is not an essential human function. Okay, having sex is, right. It's how we procreate. So that's what I mean, in the sense that it's like, like, how can we that's like saying, like, I'm better than you because I get to eat more food, right? Like, that's weird. Or like, I'm better than you because I get to breathe more air. It's a weird thing. And you might say, well, yeah, that's a faulty analogy, because like air is readily accessible, and so is food for most people. So um, that might be more applicable if we're talking about starving people and people who are not starving. And I get that, but my point is that it's just not special. It's not this thing to be coveted. And the only reason why it's brought into your mind the way it is due to social conditioning. Like, you're conditioned to lust after sex. Like, do you think, like, um, say, like, I was just watching Indian in the Cupboard with my son. Really cool movie, really cool book too. But I'm thinking, like, Native Americans, okay, the natives that were here, um, the Iroquois tribes. Like, do you think that the men lusted after sex the way men do today? I don't think so. I feel like they don't. And so if I pick any tribal people, I don't think that the men are lusting after sex in the same way that men are lusting after sex today. And it's because your mind is inundated with it. You don't protect your mind, you're just wide open for this stuff. And that takes me to the next two essential things, okay, to being that guy who just gets it in the bedroom. And that's controlling and lust, and to having a genuine appreciation for women. Like, in order to be that lover who just gets it, you need these two things. So, because part of it has to do with control, right? So that first part here, where, like, just knowing what to do, he's just naturally, like, dominate. She doesn't have to teach him. Okay, he just is that guy. You cannot be that guy if you are dominated by your lust. If you are submissive to lust, then how are you going to be that guy for her? Because in her head, yes, in certain scenarios in her mind, she can be passionate, or I'm sorry, he can be passionate, but he's not. Um, it's not like just consuming him. Okay, he has his, like, he, like, releases his passion, but it's not like he's driven by it. Okay, so you really have to have control over this, and and the reason being is that it allows you to think clearly. You can make good decisions. You can lead better. You can plan better. You can feel things out better. Okay, if you're flooded with your own lust, it drives down your sensitivity to read the room, and you don't want to do that. Okay, someone who gets it, a man who gets it in the bedroom, he knows what to do. He's not clouded by his own lust, and if he wants to turn up that dial, like, or down, he can. He's got control over it. And so the second part I said is a genuine appreciation for women. So you're not going to be that guy in the bedroom if you if you are unable to appreciate women, if you see them just as a set of holes, now this is like yes and no, okay? Because on one hand, it's a very dominant thing to be like, yes, you are just a set of holes for me to use for my pleasure. But that only works if she's also in that mindset and you kind of both have that vibe. Okay. Um, but generally speaking, but the thing is weird because you can't really get to that point unless you are fully appreciating women. Okay. So if you have this thing like, oh, I want to have sex with you, but I find women deplorable. I criticize them all the time. I judge them all the time. They're fucking whores, but I really want to have sex with them anyways. But I really dislike them and they piss me off socially and they piss me off sexually and this, that. So there's this love hate thing. You cannot have a love hate thing going on and be a great lover and be the guy who just gets it. It's impossible. Okay. So you either kind of hold on to one stance and disparage women, or you let go of that stuff and you just accept women. You don't have to love them. Okay. But it's just accepting them as they are. All right. I often reference like wildlife. Okay. Some people, like let's say they're watching a nature channel and they see a tiger run up on like a baby animal and just tear it to shreds. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's so bad, right? Like just seeing that raw, visceral violence on screen. And it can put this idea that like the tiger is bad, so to speak. But the tiger is just tigering. You know what I'm saying? It's not good or bad. It just is, right? And it's not good or bad that the baby deer was killed. Okay, it served a purpose. It was part of a large chain of events that are necessary for an ecosystem. So, like in the same sense, that's kind of the way I look at girls. I don't judge girls for anything really. Um, the judgment's not there. Like even if I see like some kind of disrespect put towards me, there's no judgment. It's just recognition of something that's misaligned with me, and it's either stopped and corrected or stopped and dismissed, and that's it. Okay, but aside from that, when it just comes to appreciation, observation, things like that, it's largely having to do with acceptance. And when you just accept women and you let go of them and then you can learn to appreciate them, that's when things start clicking. um, and again, like appreciating isn't necessarily liking something, right? So like an analogy would be like I don't like impressionist painting. I really don't. So I think what was it, Degas was a famous impressionist and French painter, and he did scenes. So he's got this famous scene of like a park, right? Maybe in like the early 1900s or something like that. There's people lounging in the park, sitting on blankets, just doing this thing. And he constructed the whole painting with like little dabs of paint in different colors. And when you're up close to it, it just looks like this chaotic pattern of colors. But when you back away like 50 feet or 100 feet, everything kind of comes into view. Okay. Kind of like in the same sense, if you notice comic books, how they're printed, it's just a bunch of little dots. And if you go really, really close with it, it's just a bunch of dots, but you hold it back and like, oh, it's a panel of action happening on the page. So it's the same thing. Like I don't really like impressionist painting. Okay. But I can appreciate it for what it is. So you can have that stance with girls. You don't have to like them to appreciate them, but you can appreciate them and like them, or just appreciate them. Okay. But what nice guys do is they like them without appreciating them, right? Because they're using girls to serve a purpose, and that's a problem. Okay. They're using girls to secure their emotional safety, and that's bad. Okay, you don't want to use a girl for anything really. However, when she becomes fully immersed in your dominant presence in the bedroom, she fully wants to be of use. Like it's weird. It's like when you no longer have a strong desire to use her, that's when she wants to offer herself for use. It's a really weird thing. There's a lot of oxymorons with how men and women interact. Um, yeah, it's just I'm not going to go down that crazy road because there's just a lot to that, and I'll probably get too philosophical with it. But but yeah, so those are the two things, okay? Controlling your lust and a genuine appreciation for girls, instead of just seeing them as a set of holes. But like I said, like once you have that confidence, the trust in yourself, you've let go of the fear of rejection, you control your lust, you have a genuine appreciation for girls. Um, she's more likely she's more inclined to kind of like come into your framing and come into your state of being, right? To kind of like merge with that. Versus like if you're doubting yourself, like that can be felt, and then she's going to kind of back away because like, wait a second, I'm in this vulnerable position, and I can sense that he's doubting what he's doing. Like, am I going to get hurt here? You know? And so now her awareness is perked up, and she can't immerse herself in the moment. But let's go back. You know, she's immersed herself in the moment, and then yeah, she's immersed herself, and so when she's in there, she's kind of like fully like enveloped into what you're doing, and then that's at the point when she's no longer this like autonomous self, and she can be treated like a set of holes, and she won't mind. Like that's the weird thing. Like, do you get that? Like before she's immersed, because of your doubt, because of your second guessing and your lack of confidence, that's when she doesn't want to be seen as a set of holes. But that's when a lot of guys do see them as a set of holes. But when you have the appreciation, confidence, self-trust, and all that, it allows her to kind of release and, you know, melt into whatever you're doing. And then she's more open to being treated like a set of holes. It's really weird like that. But it makes sense, you know. The firm you know, inspires the softening, and the softening inspires the firmness. So it's just more yin yang stuff. Okay. So let's look at that confidence. All right. Because guys might be like, well, you know, like we can't just like turn on confidence. Okay. And you kind of can. Like it's just switching it on, just saying fuck it. Right. But, you know, more specifically, the things that the thing that helps the most is what I borrowed from. Oh, who's that guy? Oh, come on. He's Ryan. He's a psychologist, dude, and like he blew up pretty fast, talking about like psychology of girls, and really he's like red pill nerd, but still kind of like incelish in a way. But anyways, he's been on like the whatever podcast a few times, I think. But she mentions two things: spine and balls. And so spine basically represents the ability to stand up for what you believe in, standing up for your codes, your principles, and your rules, despite having opposition. That's what having spine is. And balls represents the courage to act on what the spine consists of. So saying yes to what is desired and no to what is not, without fear, or without fear of consequence. And so basically that's it. That's like the most basic root of confidence, is having spine and a set of balls, standing up for what you believe in, and having the balls to take action or defend what your spine is erect for. Okay. And that's basically it for confidence. Okay. Now it can get, it can get more, fine combed about it, but that's really the essentials behind having confidence. Okay. So, so of course there's going to be like some things that you need to have before having, good sex with a girl. And of course, that's having sexual attraction. Okay. And if you're not a virgin, you've had sex a couple of times with at least like a couple of different people, you can tell, like it's very palpable when a woman wants to have sex. There's no mystery to it. Okay. You don't have to sort out signs and signals. You don't have to be like, oh, did she like, turn her feet towards me at a 72-degree angle? How many times did she put her hair behind her ear? Like any of that stuff. Like, did she touch my leg 3 times or 4 times? Because four is the threshold of having sexual attraction, I read. Like, it's nothing like that. Okay. It's just obvious. It's an obvious sensation. Um, that's, I don't know, like it's unmistakable. It's unmistakable when you come across a woman who wants to have sex with you. Um, and it just takes sensitivity. But of course, if you have no sexual experience, you will not be able to pick up on that vibe that she gives off. Okay. But for those of you like guys who've had sex with a couple of different women, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's pretty damn obvious. So just know that, like, if you haven't had sex before, just know it's not a big mystery if the girl wants to have sex. Okay. So that's the first part. The second one is her willingness to take direction. Okay. So this is also really important in being the guy who just gets it. Okay. Because the guy who gets it is the one who takes charge. He creates the direction and the flow and the pacing of being that guy. Okay. And so and really what you want to do, like, before having sex, you want to understand these things beforehand, because basically, like, if you can't lead her outside the bedroom, you're probably going to have a difficult time leading her in the bedroom. Okay. So you have to kind of test her willingness to be led, her level of compliance towards you, with non-sexual tests, right? To assess if a woman, she's willing to follow your lead, just in general. Okay. So, examples of giving simple commands during a date. Okay. Like, sit here. Uh, oh, excuse me. That snuck up in fast. Okay. So, like, saying, like, sit here, like you're going out, and you walk over to a table, pull her chair out and say, hey, sit here. Or you going off to the restroom and say, hey, order me X drink, whatever drink you like. Turning questions into commands. Okay. So if she's wearing like an interesting bracelet, okay, that catches your eye, you say, like, what's that bracelet? Right. Instead, say, tell me about your bracelet. So it's basically like putting on like an air of command before you even get into the bedroom. Okay. Uh, a lot of this stuff kind of comes off in your body language. Again, like, you don't want to come across as a performer. Okay. But people who are good leaders, they're not going to be filled with doubt. And then this comes off in their behavior. Like, it comes off in their posture. It comes off you get a sense of comfort with themselves when you're around them. Like, they're not doubting who they are, what they are, and what they can do. Uh, so you really have to get rid of that, okay? Because it comes off in everything. It comes off in your speech. It comes off in your appearance. It comes off in your body language. So the truth gets kind of like leaked out, and it almost like comes out faster the more you try to hide it. So instead of trying to like pile on these performative things, like, oh, I'm gonna sit like this, I'm gonna sit and stand and move in a dominant way because that's what some YouTube video told me to do. And so, instead of like acquiring stuff, what you have to do is just let go, because the reason being is that when you try to acquire performances that are trying to come off a certain way, you have not actually done away with the underlying thing. Okay. It doesn't like replace it. You're not like erasing a line of code and then replacing it with a new line of code, and boom, the behavior is different. Maybe that will be the case at some point in the future. Like, like in the Matrix when they kind of plug him in and he's like, oh, I know kung fu now. Like he just threw some code in there. It doesn't work that way. Okay. Not right now. So really it's a process of letting go of your concerns. And at first you kind of have to gaslight yourself in a way, by basically forcing your mind to push into a different direction that's uncomfortable, that I know you want to get to. You want to get to a place of not overthinking. You want to get to a place of feeling confident and relaxed and secure. And and it's this active, um, this active mental participation of letting go of and preventing them from coming in. Okay. And it's little voices, right? Little voices of doubt. It comes in with a yeah, but what if she, and you just don't even let that sentence complete itself, and you push it out before it even completes its thought. And you just have to practice this a lot over and over and over until that voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter. Um, so yeah, in a sense, it's like you're trying to shift your own reality, and in a sense, like gaslighting, because that's what gaslighting is. You're convincing someone that the reality that they're perceiving is not the reality that they're perceiving, and so you just do that to yourself, okay? And this helps you let go of your grip on things that you doubt. It helps you let go of your grip on seeking validation and wanting that emotional security. Because the truth is that the woman, the man that the woman is dreaming of, is not thinking this way. He's not thinking about preserving his emotional safety because he doesn't have to. Right? It's not like that's not to say that he's reckless emotionally, like puts himself into like emotional dangerous places. It just is to say that he's not seeking emotional reassurance. And people, they're different. Like it's different when you're hanging around somebody who's not seeking anything from you. They're not seeking anything from anyone. And that sort of comes off like this vibe of sovereignty. And generally speaking, like when she's like taking a snapshot of, say, like the guy that gets it, he's sovereign. He doesn't have a need to consume from any direction. And I think that's very important to understand. Um, and again, like this is connected to your lust. And the lust is not just sexual lust. The lust can be emotional lust. Like that's like wanting that emotional security, that's emotional lust. In the same sense that you're hungry for her pussy and you want to get in there and feel that sort of thing so you can be feeling accomplished about something in your life or whatever. It's the same thing with the emotions. So the sovereign man, he's not out here like trying to consume her. And the funny part is that the funny the funny part is about that is that actually makes her want to be consumed even more. because it kind of like, it's sort of like edging. When you've got a girl who's, she's aroused, you're making her play with herself instead of fucking her, and she really wants to get fucked. And you're like, oh, you really? Yeah, you want to get fucked? Well, what you're gonna do instead is you're gonna play with yourself. Like, here, catch. Like toss her like toss her like a really crappy vibrator. Like a bullet. Okay. Now some bullets are made very well, but like typically those little bullet vibrators, they're not as good as, well, there's better vibrators, just plenty better. So they vibrate and they're okay, but it's often like not strong enough to get her off. I mean, unless she's like really, really sensitive. Okay. Some girls, like, you just touch them a little bit and they come. But the thing is that typically it's not going to be a girl like that. And so you use the like a bullet vibrator and say, okay, here, toss her this. and play with yourself and tell me how badly you want to get fucked. And you just sit there calmly. Like, you're not pressed about it. You're not trying to rip her clothes off. You're not sweating this shit at all. Get up, go fix yourself go fix yourself a tea, come back, ever say, what was that? I didn't quite hear you. You're going to have to speak up, right? Just bring up that tension and having her like edge even more and more. Okay. Because like you remind her and say, listen, I don't think you want to come either. So you're not going to come for me. And reminding her that like it's more pleasurable to have an orgasm with you, okay, rather than like this little toy. It's like, listen, you can if you want, but I think that that's not going to be quite as good as it compared to me. And just have her like mess with that shitty little bullet vibrator, and so like again, like it's showing her so much. It's showing her that, well, and yourself, that you are the one who's in control. You're not controlled by the scenario. You're not controlled by her. You're controlled by your choices, which are backed by your principles, right? And you can have sexual principles, right? One of my sexual principles is that lust does not rule me. I enjoy lust. It's here, but it just does not rule me. It's not sitting anywhere near the throne. Okay. Like it's in the pews. You know what I mean? It's not at the pulpit. So, but so many guys, their lust is definitely standing at the pulpit, like telling them what to do, right? Reverend lust. So that's really not the best way to go about things. Okay, it's not the best way to be the guy who just gets it. Okay, because that's it's an embodiment of just. I keep referencing James Bond. Like, go watch Dr. No. Okay, I think Dr. No was the first James Bond movie that came out in the '60s with Sean Connery. Like the Sean Connery version, he was just embodying this. Like, of course he loved beautiful women. Okay, of course he loved flirting with them and having sex with them, and that whole thing. And it was great, but he was never controlled by them. He was never like, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting about my mission and I'm gonna go fuck some chick, in the bathroom of the casino. Like it's not like that. He's always just very composed. And there's something just really intoxicating about a man who's composed, but who can also unleash his sexual fury if he wants to. And you can let her catch glimpses of that, in varying degrees. Whether the door swings all the way open or it's just open to crack, okay, or not at all, and she can just hear it banging at the door, and you're like, you're not getting any of that. And so, like, again, so it's that controlling of the tempo, controlling of the temperature and the vibration. Like that shows that you get it, okay. If you're just getting in there to fuck, that doesn't show anybody that you get it. I want you to understand that. Like, just like I say this, just because a guy gets girls doesn't mean he gets girls. Like he gets to have sex with them, but that doesn't mean that he understands them. And to understand something makes you more formidable. To understand something, makes you a force to be reckoned with. If you look at, like the old, like warriors that passed, like the Japanese warriors, Chinese warriors and stuff, like they spent a lot of time studying the enemy. Now, I'm not just trying to say that women are the enemy, but it is this opposing force in a universal sense. And it's really important to understand the enemy. Because instead of just being like focused on only what you want to do and say, all right, this is what I'm doing, and like forget whatever happens, whatever they do, like who cares? I'm getting on the battlefield and I'm just doing what I want to do. Now you can do that, but it's even better if you have an understanding of the opposition. if you know how they move. Tons of people are like this. Like, who's the guy in the UFC? Black guy. He's like undefeated. He was like disqualified once, but he's never ever been defeated. Fuck, what's his name? Um, what the fuck is his name? He's like a legend. He gets disqualified by like doing like an elbow on the top of some dude's head by accident. Fuck, what's his name? Come on, I'm having a total brain fart. No, not Rainy Morales. No. Oh, John Jones. Oh, and hold on a second. I think I let my dog in, so excuse me for a moment. All right, sorry about that. We're back. You're back. Let's see. Over the past year, I've taken note that the women who follow directions and who don't, and sex is always better and easier with the ones that do. Sure, yeah. So, and that's really why you should be going out with girls. If you go out, like if you go out, meet up with girls, that sort of thing, or if you just like talk with them. Although it's easier to judge compliance in person, I think, but it can certainly be figured out, over the phone. But I would think that the more self assurance you have, the more confidence you have, the better at communication you are, the easier it is to assess a girl even over the phone, with online sources, just chatting on Instagram or whatever. Um, but in person, if you don't have that higher skill, meeting in person, it just makes it a lot easier. So, but yeah, that's why I'm like I think that going out, going on a date or whatever, um, that it's not to have fun. It's not to appease her. It's going to an environment where you can assess her compliance, and that's really where you want to be at. You need to provide the environment such that you can have variables in order to test things out. Like you're not there to get like, come on. Yeah. So, so yeah, like those environments uh, really shouldn't be about having fun or having a good time, or I don't know, like any of those emotional things. Really, it's an opportunity that you've created for yourself that you can assess them. that you can assess for the things you're looking for, and compliance should be high on the list. Um, that's how you should approach dating. That's how you should approach like any sort of like initial contact with a girl that you're possibly curious about. Um, it, no other purpose. Okay, and and I'm like a very strong proponent of the idea of not getting in the sack right away. I don't think a stranger deserves that from me. Uh, yeah, and that's just like the difference between like um, me and other coaches. Like I'm not all about just like having getting it in on the first date, getting it in the second time you meet up, third time. It doesn't matter. Like it's when I determined that they're at a position where they deserve more than my curiosity. Until then, I'm going to be assessing everything, because I don't want to, um, I don't want to waste my time, and I'm certainly not going to waste my dick. None of that stuff. So all of it is in the purpose of seeing if, well, she's in alignment with me, seeing if she's good enough for, like, according to my standards for what I have. And just too many guys just give themselves away for free, like you're just in the bargain bin. Like, here, just take me. And that's just not the way to be. You know, like that's not having like the dick of a king, right? Now, of course, I'm not under any sort of illusion that I'm some kind of royalty. That's not the point. It's more of like an archetypal sort of thinking, and this can go a long way, like having archetypal thinking, because it changes your behavior, it changes how you interact with people, it changes your perspective on things, and it's beneficial to think more like a king than like a peasant. So the peasant, they they take what they can get in all aspects because they're in a constant survival mode. So they're the type, if they're invited to some sort of event where there's a bunch of food that they can eat, they're stuffing rolls in their pockets. They're putting, like they're just eating tons of food and stuffing things in their jacket pocket because they're in a position of survival. Okay. This is the case with like everything when it comes to the peasant, right? Because the peasant doesn't have much. So when they have the opportunity to consume, they consume it a lot and they consume it quickly. Like, you ever see like like animals, you see like an animal who's on the street, like they come across food, they wolf it down quickly because, for one, they don't want other animals taking it from them. And two, they don't know the next time they're going to eat. So they're just getting in their stomach as fast as fucking possible. And if you ever rescued any animals from the street, it's very hard for them to break out of this. Like, I had this cat. Well, I still have him, but for years, I rescued him from the street as a kitten, and he was in that habit of just eating really fucking fast. And he would eat so fast that he would then throw up because he's eating too fast. And so I kind of had to like give him little bits so he wouldn't overeat in one sitting. So give him a little bit, let him finish that, wait a little, give him a little bit more, and so on. And so he got conditioned to this idea that, like, hey, you've got a permanent home now. You don't have to still behave like you're surviving on the street. And it took a while. Okay. But like, think about it, like someone who has abundance, right? And we can call that an archetype of a king, whatever you want to do. Okay. It's just a word, it's a placeholder for a certain vibe. Okay. But the king, he's not rushing for anything. He's he's at that same party, okay, and just takes little bits, and it's like, thinks first, like, oh, do I really even want to put that in my mouth? Like, is that prepared well? Does that look good? Does it smell good? Like, does it meet my standards of something I'm going to put in my body? Right? The best not thinking about that. It's like free food. It's going in as much as I can. So, and the same with just having abundance of things. It's like you're more choosy. You're more standardized. You don't just accept and consume just because it's available. And so that's the sort of mentality that I think is healthier than having the mentality of a peasant. And so the king's definitely not going to give his dick to anybody. And the actual kings in history who have, um, they fucked up, and this is where you have bastards, okay, where I say like the king, he gets with some girl from the town or the village, like she's not royalty, and ends up getting her pregnant. Oh, now that's a big fucking problem, because now there's the royal bloodline that's somewhere out on the streets, and it's like, fuck, like now I have to deal with her. Like, what's she gonna do? She's gonna sabotage the throne. Is she gonna try to put her, if it's a boy, is she gonna try to put him on the throne, because that makes him a successor? That's royal blood. And now what's gonna happen to me? Like, now it just fucks the whole thing, right? So, and that's happened plenty of times. I'm sure, I can't remember the specific stories, but I've heard of a few, and it's just it just turns into a world of shit. Okay, so don't think like just because someone's an actual king that means they're going to be free from making bad decisions. They're not. Um, they still fall to where just human impulse. But as an archetype, okay, when you bring this into your mind as an archetype, there are no human faults, okay, because it's an idealized standard. So if we sort of like kind of turn our angle towards an idealized standard, it kind of helps us stay on the straight and narrow better. And by straight and narrow, I mean by abiding to your standards, which should be high for yourself, okay? Like a guy who gives himself away for free really can't have very high standards, right? He's just like, hey, any pussy's good pussy. And it's like, really? No, I mean, for sure, it's a wet hole, regardless of what woman it's on, okay, or in. But it's never just the hole. You're always dealing with the person who's attached to it, and that can spell, joy or great demise. Right? So you don't want to like just give this away, because you might find yourself that you've fucked a psychopath, or you fucked a girl who's ill, or you fucked a girl who doesn't deserve it because she's just, she's rude. Maybe she's cantankerous. Maybe she has no sense of gratitude. Maybe she has no respect for you. So there's so many different things that could disqualify a girl. And so just imagine, like, you're this guy, you don't know this girl at all. She's putting on a bit of her performance to be liked, because most people do that sort of shit. And you guys have sex. Let's say it's like on the second time you meet up, and then you find out that she's really bad. Like, she just she's rude, she's selfish, she has no sense of gratitude. You just don't like her for whatever reason. She's like beneath your standards of what you consider a good woman, or an acceptable woman in terms of her character. And so now you've just given your dick, like, your one of the most like prized things. I mean, basically everything you have is prized, but so you've taken a prized part of yourself, given to this girl for free before figuring out if she deserved it or not. And it turns out she didn't deserve it. So you just like threw a bag of gold coins to a peasant, and they didn't even say thank you. Okay. And they even just told you to fuck off. You're going to be like, damn, like, I fucked up there. I had poor judgment skills. So you got to put your judgment in front of your dick. Like, you have to. All right. Like, this is one of the things that sets people apart, in whether they're in the camp of peasants or the camp of kings. That actually sounds pretty cool for like Brandon, camp of kings. Anyways, so it's like, you decide, it's really up to you. And that's the thing about being the guy who just gets it, controlling the lust. Peasants, they don't control their lust. You look at societies where the birth rate is super fucking high. Like I know, I think like the birth rates in India, at one point, not too far long ago, or maybe if it's even just recently, their birth rates are very high. And so, and I've met like a number of guys who are from India. Now, of course, there's too many people to use that as a use them as like a brush to paint every man there, but they were not the dude, right? They were not the guy. They were very, very lustful, very, very much in the mindset of lack. Okay, a lack of abundance, this hungry, like a hungry ghost sort of mindset. And yeah, so it's no wonder that my inbox gets filled with Indian women, like because they're just turned off from that. Like women are inherently turned off by neediness, by where it's like, wait, is he passionate or is he needy or is it all just kind of mixed together? Like, what is that? Like, and that's not like that doesn't seem that seems like an uncontrolled animal, and that therefore I don't know what's going to happen to me, and not in a good way. You know, that's it's very different to like her trusting you and then you tying her up, blindfolding her, and having her hear you do all sorts of like things, playing with tools, and there's metal clinking, and she can hear buckles and straps and all sorts of things. She's like, wait, what the fuck is he gonna do? Like that's a different kind of not knowing. But when you're unpredictable with this like animalistic lust, it's really off-putting to girls, right? Because they're hardwired for safety, to kind of scan for safety. So that's why they're always testing, judging, assessing, like all that. When a girl's like testing a dude, it's not for disrespect. Um, it's really just self-preservation. It's a baked in thing that's been going on for many, many, many generations. Hey, what's up, Mr. Washington? I live in Asia. Where in Asia specifically? Because that's a very large region. So, if you don't mind, if you could tell me at least, you don't have to tell me the city that you live in, but if you could get a little more specific, that'd be great. But I live in Asia, where men doing a direct sexual approach can lead to problems like women making a scene or women calling cops on you. So, what's the best advice you would give on this? Well, I think it depends. I think I need to know a little bit more, because it's the context. Because, like I said, like Asia is big, so it depends on the cultural customs of your area. Um, and I get that. Like in many Asian countries, Southeast Asia. Okay, so we're talking what, Vietnam? Are we talking uh, Thailand? Where, right? Because like if you're in Thailand, it's different, right? Because there's some areas that they're older, they're more conservative, and then there's more like I guess more westernized cities, like Bangkok, for example, where it doesn't matter if you're talking to girls, right? Um, if you're, say, in Vietnam, if you're in maybe Hanoi, that might be, I always like a little bit in the middle, but they're still kind of traditional there, where I could see that being like a turn off or a social faux pas. But if you go to, say, Saigon, where it's a little bit more progressive, it's probably not going to be an issue. So you're gonna have to be a little more specific in Southeast Asia. But I hope you get my point. Like it depends. It depends, I think, on the town. And if you're having trouble, I would say like just go to a larger city, not to move there, but like take a trip. Like hop on a train and go to a more progressive city, close by to those countries that you named, but not Thailand, surely. Okay, but so I would say like go to like a more progressive city, because I do know that in the East, like tradition and family and conservatism is really high. Okay. So if you go to a more progressive city where there's, girls are like living on their own, boys are living on their own, like that sort of thing, even like before marriage, then you're more likely to come across girls who are going out, right? So like I've been to clubs in Asia, like it's not just a bunch of dudes. Okay. So like, and there's people talking to each other, and they're probably not all friends. So, go to, try going to clubs if you're into that. But even if you're not, I would say try this out. Um, just because it'll be good for you. Because if you're feeling socially inept, the best thing for you to do is just to throw yourself into society, throw yourself into social situations. You can't magically get good at something by keeping it at an arm's reach. Okay. So, that's just the way it is. Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good. What do we have here? What's up, True Color? Yeah. So, in April, I'm going to be doing a workshop. It's actually part of a larger boot camp. So if anybody listening to this, they go to like boot camps and things like that, I'm going to be working with James Tusk and his team. There's a guy there who's not James himself, but another dude who's running the boot camp down there in Bogota. And so I'm going to be in Bogota in April, and going to be adding on my knowledge. So teaching guys like what to do in the bedroom. All those guys are going to be teaching them like how to get to the bedroom, and then then my workshop is going to be teaching them what to do after they're in the bedroom. So that's going to be in Bogota from April 14th. Well, no, for them it's April 15th to the 22nd. So if anybody listening to this, either live or during the replay, and you're interested in going to something like this and getting taught by me directly, then just hit me with an email. You can contact me through the website, and I can give you the details and put you in touch with James and see about going to Bogota. It'll be my first time to Bogota, so that should be really great. Not as long as I'd like it to be, but that's life. We just can't always take the length of trips that we would enjoy. My personal feel is that you should spend at least 10 days, like a minimum of 10 days in a new country, or a new city that's abroad. It's hard. Like, first of all, you need a couple days to get out of the jet lag, and then you need a couple of days to just kind of explore it and get immersed into the culture and the people and customs. And it's just, and the stranger it is, like, the more different it is to your own culture, the more time you're going to want to kind of feel out things, because there's a lot there. So yeah, I would say at a minimum 10 days, and I'm only going there for 4, so whatever. But I'll go back. So the workshops, they're going to be happening more this year. I'm probably going to be doing some in the US. So we're trying this out in Bogota, and then I'm probably going to be doing other workshops in like Miami, Las Vegas, and various other cities around the United States. But we're going to do the first one in Colombia. Let's see here. So yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. If you have any questions about what we talked about like being that guy in the bedroom, and no, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't mind any questions. I know in Asia where you're planning to reside. It's probably in a few years, it's probably going to be in Vietnam. I really like Vietnam. I'm not sure exactly where. I visited Sapa, and that place is fucking amazing. Like, it's really small, unfortunately, but holy crap, is it gorgeous there. The city part, or the city, it's a small city. It's in a valley, and it started off, for the people that don't know, like a resort vacation place by like these French explorers. They're like, hey, in this valley, seated on, in a bowl basically by these enormous mountains. Okay. And they're not like rocky mountains. They're just green. They're covered with green. And I don't know how they got there, but they got there in this valley, and they're like, hey, let's put this resort. I could imagine back when they did this in, I don't know, maybe the late 1800s or something like that. It must have been incredibly difficult to get there, but they built it. They built hotels and started doing this. And this is sort of like when the French influence was in there with the architecture, and the Indochine style came about. And so the Indochine style of architecture is this really interesting mix of French and Asian styling. So it's just this just amazingly beautiful buildings, like just immaculate, and they're all like up kept well. They're not like falling apart and stuff. And so that's a large part of the like the city area. And so you've got like influence from like the French, you've got influence from the Chinese, you've got influence from the Vietnamese, and then you've got influence from like the natives of the Sapa area. What are they called? The the Hmong. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So you've got like this stew of different cultures and people all mixed in, and it's just really cool there. And then you go up into the mountains, and I've got an older video where I showed where I was staying, and my Airbnb was just kind of like built into the side of the mountain, and you look out over the valley, and you're way the fuck up there. I mean, we drove just to get to my Airbnb. It took like maybe 30 to 40 minutes of just driving uphill, like on dirt roads and shit. And it was yeah, it was yeah, it's just great, man. It's just really, really awesome. So I would recommend visiting Vietnam, like especially if you enjoy coffee. They have amazing fucking coffee. Like there's like one street will have like a dozen coffee shops, like just for consuming it and enjoying it, but also selling it. Like you can buy beans and all that stuff. So just tons on every street. It's really weird. And their beer is really good. I think it's like a rice type of beer. So it has this interesting light, earthy quality to it. Just great stuff. Um, but yeah, it's really great. I just wish there was, because of the dumb shit that happens in the past between the U.S. and Vietnam. There's not very great political relations. It's just kind of like, yeah, we tolerate each other, but that's about it. So like the whole visa thing in between is kind of a pain in the ass. But maybe that'll subside in the future. But I don't know, just the people are really relaxed. It's just cool there. I like it. And if you like kind of look at like videos, like tourist videos and stuff of the countryside, and like if you're into like hiking or camping or canoeing or anything like that, just the views are just mind blowing. Like it's like nothing like you'd ever see in the United States. Um, Granted, you kind of have to like the whole jungle thing, but it's really cool, really, really cool. Yeah, I keep in contact with military expats. I'm setting up what they have, a retirement spot with 20 years younger, live in or close by female medical professional caregiver. Yeah, or you can have your 20 years younger live in, and then also have another one who's a medical care professional. I think that's what I'll do, because like my girl, she's great, but I think it would be great to have another girl who's also a nurse or a doctor or something like that. Have one that's a lawyer and then one that's a doctor. It's one to handle the paperwork, one to handle your body. As you become old and decrepit. But yeah, and then they're younger, and then you can just watch them like bouncing around with their firm little titties. An overview. Yeah, I suppose I could do that. It's pretty simple. Like a guy who women want to get fucked by the guy who just knows what to do. Um, Arousal is killed by thinking on both her part and yours. You need rock solid confidence as well as trust in yourself. You need to get rid of yourself, or get rid of the fear of rejection. You need to control your lust and have a genuine appreciation for women, beyond looking at them as a set of holes to stick your dick in. Then you need to have spine and balls. Spine is representing standing up for your codes and your principles, despite having the opposition, and balls represents the courage to act on what the spine consists of. And you want to scan for sexual attraction and scan for her willingness to take direction. And basically that is like the crux of it. Okay, that's like the very foundations of being the man who just knows what to do. Um, because like you don't even have to have a ton of experience, but as long as you trust yourself, you don't doubt yourself, and you have conviction, that trumps somebody who thinks they know what they're doing, but they're full of doubt, right? I'd rather be with somebody who has low skill but great trust than perceived higher skill and a lack of trust, right? Because again, girls, they are driven largely by how they feel. Okay. And your skill is not going to make them feel a certain way. Certainly, it'll make them feel something like on the surface, but this is not going to be penetrating her. This is not going to penetrate her deep into the emotions. And when she gets penetrated more deeply in her emotions, this is when she can start letting go. Okay. And she's penetrated deeply by your certainty. She's penetrated deeply by your trust in yourself, in your confidence of yourself. Okay. That's what this does. So, oh, that's great. Huh. Oh, cool. Um, sorry, just sending message. Yeah, and so that's basically the root of it. Okay, so the root is just not not being your head, not doubting yourself, and that goes a long fucking way, a long way. And then also just testing her compliance, like recognizing the mutual sexual attraction, not being fucking crazy about it. So just basically showing her, I'm really comfortable sitting in tension. Okay, sitting in this pool of tension, this sexual tension that we have, I am cool as a cucumber. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm not even sweating. And that will actually turn her on even more. It's just this thing. It's just this idea that like, the guy who's in control of himself is a real turn on. And it's even a real turn on to her because kind of like strokes your ego a little bit if you allow yourself to unleash some of your passion, because that's also hot to girls, right? Where they think, wow, to see him just kind of behaving a little bit animalistically, okay, like his passion just takes him over, like that's attractive as well, okay, but just make sure that you allow them to earn that aspect, okay. um, you should be, more often than not, in a state of control, where you're not bothered by her, or you're not moved by her pretty face, or her hair, or her lips, or her tits, or her ass, or anything else that she has. Okay, the sound of her voice, her perfume, none of that shit. Okay, but going back to like those two essential things, you appreciate them, right? You can absolutely appreciate everything she's got going on with her. Okay, and when you have this idea of like just appreciation without emotionally being pulled or tugged into her, um, it actually, like, I don't know how to describe this, but it just changes the color of things. Um, you just, I don't know, and that changes. Just trust me when I say, like, when you get into this position of just of appreciation without being pulled in or being tugged by what you see, this gives off a vibe that she picks up on, that she is, that just turns her on. It, and that just, like, again, like that kind of also, nudges her ego a little bit, because for the most part, girls have largely experienced men who are pushing themselves up on her. Um, that's the vast majority. Like guys where it's so obvious and so on the nose that he wants to fuck, and either he's really straightforward with it, and it's just there's no mystery, and he's just like, I really want to fuck, and he's being straightforward about it, um, or he's trying to be subversive and sneaky, and he's like, no, 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 like I really, I'm not, like he's telling himself like, no, I'm not here to fuck. I really do want to know what you're listening to in your headphones. Excuse me, I really do want to know what book you're reading. No, 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 no. I don't. I'm not here for sex. I barely think you're attractive. I just want to know what book you're reading. You know, like if you're going to do one of those, at least just be forthright and be honest and be straightforward and just say what you want. Okay. Like I'm more in support of that than being this liar. Okay. But I think they're both faulty. Okay. Because they're both being led by desire. And it doesn't, and I'm not saying that you should be some ascetic monk. Okay. What I'm saying is that that desire should be on a leash like a trained dog. And this like undoubtedly, like especially if there's that mutual sexual attraction, because again, that's something that just arises. It's not something that you can cultivate. All right. Like either it's there or it's not. And when it's there, it's and then you're kind of giving her this impression that you are so comfortable just relaxing in the sexual tension that you're not urged to move on it. Like, come on, come on, come on, let's get to the hotel. Or I'm just biding my time and checking my like, come on, like, oh, do we have to keep talking? Like, I really just want to get to the hotel and fuck. Like, you're perfectly fine. And then all the while, like being able to flirt with her, being able to like flirt with her without flirting with her. And by that, I mean that she can feel your sexual energy. Okay. And this is namely about how you look at her, but your words are completely benign. There's, there's nothing special, right? And there's nothing like overtly flirtatious or sexual in the words that you're using, but you can absolutely communicate this through just your gaze. It can be just like a little aura that you're giving off, and if that's mutual there, then it just pushes her further up because it just showing her that like, yes, we're sexually attracted to one another, and I'm only going to move when I feel like moving, when I choose to move. And it's that, and that's the end of it. Like you don't decide. You don't decide, and my lust doesn't decide. I decide. Okay. Not this impulse that's like overcome me. you know, like I don't want to be overcome by anything. Okay. Like that's not a position that I want to be in. I don't want to be overcome by anything. Um, so you don't want to ever be overcome with hunger. Yes. So you keep food in your refrigerator. You keep working so you can put food in your refrigerator. You don't want to be overcome with this, like I don't know, well, anything, right? Anything in your life. So you make sure that there's things in your life that you don't have to overcome this. So, or so you're not like overcome by the impulses. So in the same way, it's like I don't want to ever just be overcome by impulses, right? And then I think like even if I were in a situation where I didn't have enough food to eat, I would make that something that wouldn't overcome me. Like in my mind, I would use my mind to kind of because I don't want to walk around with stress. I don't want to like being in a state of stress or tension is a terrible place to be. And I think that this is maybe an age thing. Like when you get older, like guns, you probably can relate with this, but it's like you're real sensitive to like what creates tension, and you don't want to have tension, right? Um, you don't want to bring tension into your folds, like into your circles, into your life. Like you just I don't know. Like you're much more like your filters for anything, like your filters for bullshit are much more stringent as you get older. And so you just don't have patience for that sort of stuff. There's like the microns on your filter are much tighter. So fewer things get through because you're like, no, if it's like any hint of nonsense that's going to make me pay attention to it more than I need to, it's not getting through. Okay. And this is why like there was recently, what was it, Ice White, he had a panel with like pickup artists, and man, there was this one dude, he was in the top right with such an annoying little voice, and he's young, so I don't really hold it against him, but I made a comment in there, and I said, if it's not If it's not a hell yes, it might as well be a no. And that's the way I move. Okay, that's the way I choose to move. It's not a prescriptive thing. I'm basically describing my own program when it comes to that sort of thing, because I don't want that anything else but hell yes in my life. I don't want maybe friends. I don't want maybe experiences. I don't want maybe clients. Like either you're in or you're out. Like and if you're in, we're fucking in. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna half-ass your training. Goodbye, because you're just gonna waste both of our time. Don't waste my time. And if you want to waste your time, do it away from me, right? And that's what I mean by having like this, like a tighter filter. It's like you just like, for what? Like, and I think maybe it's seeing death. Like I can like more clearly see death down the road. So I think that kind of plays a factor. Not that I think about death, but maybe it's just something baked into the system where you're just like, nope. Like my time is become much more relevant to me, and so you get much more aware of where you put your time, why, how much, and so it's like if a woman comes through, a friend comes through, a business thing, it all has to be hell yes, and I don't have to accept anything less than that. Like, why would I? Why would I want to work with somebody that's a maybe? Like that just means so much. It opens up like too many variables for things to go wrong. Why would I want to fuck a girl who isn't 100% convinced that she wants to fuck? That's weird. Like I don't want a girl who's like 75% on board. No, I want 110%. Like coaches that I've had in different sports, they're like, no, give me 110%, because even 100% is not good enough for them. They want better than the best of your efforts, right? Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I was raised. I had many coaches in my life, kind of like drilling that mentality into my head. Um, and I'm not perfect by any means, but it has to do with your mentality and your efforts, right? Um, it doesn't mean that you're going to have perfect results, by no means. It's just that just how you look at things, how you approach things in life. And yeah, what'd you say here? Don't be led by desire, but hold it like a coal, but calmly. Yeah. Yeah. You value the peace that you build as part of your universe. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, and the thing is though, is that guys will misunderstand that and think like building the peace, right? Thinking of your external life. It has nothing to do with that. And building the peace is internally, right? Like when you have dealt with like letting go of your own tension, letting go of anxiety, letting go of anger, letting go of worry, letting go of just so much stuff that has really determined itself to be a bunch of bullshit. Okay. And then we actually create more problems in our head that actually don't exist in the world. It's a weird thing that humans do. But once you realize that, things get more simplified, and that's when you have like inner peace, right? It's when just things are calm and there's not a bunch of tension inside. And that's the peace that you maintain, whether you're living in a fucking lean-to or you've got a 5-bedroom house. It doesn't matter, okay? But even more so, like if you do have a physical world that you've built as well, you're going to want to maintain peace and a lack of tension in that, right? So it's just whatever it is, like internal, external, your whole world, okay? And so I really, and so when I said that, it was so funny because he's like, oh man, like listen to this fucking alpha male, It's just like, it's so silly that he took it that way because, it has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with just me not wanting less than what I want, right? And like I said this before, like I can't cook, like you can't cook pasta with fucking lukewarm water. You can't cook it with cold water. It must be boiling. Like it must be boiling hot. That's how you fucking cook, right? And I only want to cook with boiling hot water. That's it. Other guys, they can accept lukewarm water. They can accept medium hot water. They can accept cold water. I can't. And that's just me. And yes, I'm going to have far fewer experiences than if I had an acceptance of lukewarm water. Far more. But I don't want that. Like, I don't want volume. Okay. Because volume doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't. Okay. So, like, surely there's variety, I guess, in like maybe the way the girl looks and feels in my hands or whatever. But like literally, like if you lined up like a dozen women with their legs spread, okay, and you put a blindfold on and you fuck them all for like, 30 seconds, and then they all change positions, okay, you wouldn't be able to tell which one's which. I promise you. I promise you. So it's not having to do with like the physicality, like variation, right? That you're after, right? It's something else that you're after when it comes to multiples. I want lots of girls, right? I don't care about that. Like I've had my fair share, but and then I realized that volume just doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't equate. There's nothing like qualitative that comes of volume. All right. Because I realized that what I was seeking was myself. That's what happened. I realized that through women, I was actually trying to seek myself. I was like, wait a second, I don't need girls to find myself. I just need myself to find myself, you know? Yep. And I just allow her to find herself through me, like this one. How you doing there, kitten? So so volume really just doesn't do anything. But if you're into volume, like, oh man, I want to have sex with a lot of girls, like that's fine. Just understand, like, it's not going to really do much for you. It's not going to grant you superpowers. It's not going to mean anything. Like, it does nothing. And at the end, you're still just left with yourself, right? Because the girls, they all go away. Like whether it's the same night, whether if that's a few days, a few weeks, a few months, or a few years, like they'll just go away at some point. Okay. You're always just with yourself. And if you're feeling like empty, right, then you realize that you were doing all that stuff for the wrong reason. You like, because that's what I think is like a lot of guys is that they, um, they're not after sex for the sex. They're actually after sex for the emotional things that come through sex for men. Um, because of the way we've been socially conditioned to deal with our own psychology and our own emotions. So it's like we emotionally connect through physical activity, right? So like if I would say I'm having a stressful day or something like that, or I would invite my buddy over, or I'd go over to his place and like work on cars or work on our bikes. We wouldn't really talk, okay? But we just like work on a problem together, like this mechanical problem. And then after doing that for a couple of hours and after a couple of beers, you just magically feel better. There's just something cathartic about this, okay? Um, but it's just, I don't know, just what guys do. We process differently. And I think that oftentimes sex is used that way for guys as well. They process certain emotions through sex. And the funny thing is that like you don't really need it for that. Um, and in that sense, like you're using her for the wrong reasons. Uh, it's a very dangerous trap to fall into if you're using a woman's body for your emotional fulfillment, because it can be trapping. So what do you have here? Vietnam is abundant with natural beauty, but it's the government that's an issue. I still don't know whether that country is democratic or communist. That's what I hear. My observation of that country. Yeah, it's that's the interesting part for me, like about Vietnam, is that it just has this weird like swirled identity, and it's had a swirled identity for a long time. And that's part of, I don't know, It's just part of what I think is really cool about it. That it just has this very unique mixed identity. But yeah, and I get it. Like, if you're a young man, it's natural for you to want to just fuck a lot of girls. But just trust me, you'll come out on the other end and realize that you gained nothing from it, like nothing. And you won't actually really understand more about girls either. The way to understand more about girls is really to understand yourself better, because the greater knowledge and the more conviction that you have, the more, how to explain it, like the more your internal world becomes like granite and becomes very understood. It becomes a topographic map where you understand the texture and the rising and falling of everything inside. Okay, then you basically can understand most people. And then girls don't really have to become something for you to figure out. They actually flip, and they start wanting to figure you out because you now are known and you are more solid. Okay, your identity becomes more solid. And like I said, just with girls, they're more amorphous, they're more flowing, they're more like nature, more chaotic in that sense. Where like identity is just this ever moving thing, right? And that's not a slight on girls. Like, it's just nature. Like, it's just how nature is. Um, and this is, unfortunately, this is how they get taken advantage of, right? Because you can, like, both on a social level and interpersonal. Like, if you've got a good voice and um, a good sense of conviction about yourself, you can really get inside a girl's head and basically get her to believe just about anything. And I think, like, media executives know this. I think marketing and advertising know this. I think social media knows this. Um, and and so these platforms can easily get inside a woman's head and start messing with her subconscious, right? So this is why I think, um, it's important for girls to limit the amount of social media access they give themselves. Um, yeah, I think it's very important because a lot of it's subversive, and the developers even know that it is. They know that it's psychologically destructive, and so for girls, just I think especially because of the nature of their minds generally, okay, that they can be easily influenced, okay, and so there's a reason why, like, girls make up more of the consuming of products and services in the world. Okay, it's just the nature of it. Okay, the void wants to be filled. So it can, if it has the ability to consume, it will consume. And so it's like, okay, they rub their little hands together and say, okay, how can we manipulate this? How can we turn this into more dollars? How can we get them to buy stuff and want stuff? Oh, let's make them take that intrinsic, because when things are not solid and grounded and known, okay, and like I said, like the man who knows himself like a fucking topographic map internally, if they're not like that, then it's easy to sow seeds of doubt. It's easy to play on insecurities. And then once you get that in, then their emotions start coming up. And then once emotions start getting involved, then you can start just basically a rudder appears in your hands and you can make people do shit by just fucking with their emotions, but on a very subtle level. Okay. And that's how a lot of advertising works. And that's how advertising works when it's geared towards women. All right. They either go heavily towards, like, oh, you want to aspire towards this, so buy this fucking makeup or buy this and buy that, or you are not like this, and to become like the thing that you're not, you need to get this product or service. And because, like, right now you're not that thing, and I know you don't want to be that thing, you want to be this other thing, so buy this shit. And so for someone whose emotions are more easily accessible, that is also like woven in this this sense of self-doubt, then it's easy to control them and easy to siphon money out of them, okay? By making them buy shit that they don't need, by convincing them that they need it. And that's just how it works. Right? You don't see the same sort of stuff geared towards men because it's a little bit more difficult, okay? So the ploy then is, well, how do we then make men more emotional? And that's what's been done over the last, I don't know, decade or so of guys. I personally think it's a fucking psyop, because you know, if you can conquer a society without firing a single bullet, well, then you're a master. Right? Like if you can bring men to their knees and not want to fight, you make them completely weak and obedient, by accessing their emotions and accessing the perceptions of things. Then you've won. You're a master. You've defeated your opponent without doing much of anything except just getting in their head. And so this is also why I say that you must, as men, guard your mind. Do not get into fucking doom scrolling. Do not sit there on fucking, like, no grown man, unless you're running a business, should have TikTok on his phone. There's no reason for it. There is no benefit to it. Okay. You shouldn't be fiddling around on Instagram unless you have a business that's part of this. Okay. That utilizes it. You shouldn't be fucking around like that as a grown man. Okay. I mean, I don't think like kids should either, but it's really hard to kind of manage that sort of thing. But yeah, like it's going to prevent you from thinking for yourself. It brings you into collective thinking, okay? Because you've got millions of people all seeing certain things. So like the algorithm kind of pumps up certain things, which will make sure that it gets more views. And those more views means more minds are being affected. So you're essentially manufacturing groupthink. You're manufacturing hive-like thinking from an emotional standpoint, which means it's not just conscious thinking. You're hive-minding the subconscious. That's a dangerous thing to do. It's a dangerous thing to be part of. So I implore you, put down the fucking social media. Like, go, I don't know, fucking do other shit. Go buy yourself a fucking bow. Get into like, shooting a bow and arrow. That's much more worthwhile than thumbing around on fucking Instagram. Okay? Do something. Like, use your body. Turn off your mind. Okay? Like, you don't want more engagement, especially engagement that accesses your subconscious. Don't fucking do it. You're not going to be the guy by watching videos telling you about how to be the guy. Okay? Like this interaction here is not going to do shit for you. This does shit for me. It doesn't do much for you. Okay? This gets me clients. This gets me, more visible, but it doesn't do much for other people. Okay? So really, like, just guard your fucking mind. Granted, I'm also not here trying to sell you stuff that's going to harm you. I'm not trying to siphon money out of people. It's nothing like that. If I were, then I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing something much more sinister and much more superficial. That's just not my path. Okay. If I had less care about some humanity, then I would just do, I don't know, like drop shipping or some shit like that. Just start a drop shipping business and sell bullshit that I found on Temu or whatever. Nothing that benefits anybody at all and just feeds their hunger for stuff, which comes from just emptiness. Okay. It's like, no, I want to deal with the emptiness. Why are you not full as a man? Why are you walking around with a sense of emptiness? It's weird. And then it gets really wacky too, because when you become full of self, you then become more empty, but you don't feel empty. It's weird. It's kind of like a wagon wheel when it's like spinning in one direction, and it gets faster and faster, and then it starts to appear like it's not spinning at all, and then maybe even starts looking like it's spinning backwards. I forget what that effect is called, but the same idea happens like when you are full of self. Okay, you start spinning in one direction so quickly, then that becomes it becomes almost like you become empty because you're so full. You're not really like trying to fill anything, and that brings about the sensation of emptiness. But it's a different kind of emptiness, not a hungry emptiness. It's an emptiness that comes from being full. It, I know that doesn't make sense, but when you get there, it will. I promise you. And so this this makes you unfuckwithable. It means that you're not influenced by anything because you're so full. It's like, where's that stuff going to go? There's no place for influence from bullshit, especially then if you then combine filters, right, that prevent nonsense to come in to waste your time because you're like, no, I'm protecting this thing. Then really, it's very easy to live a life of peace. Like nothing really gets in, okay, unless you choose to let it in. Yes. Oh, well, thank you for being a well-wisher of me. It's giving you this unsolicited advice. If you plan to move to a new country, go only where there is democracy and government is well stable. It gives you safety and peace. Well, I don't know. I think that I would feel safety and peace where there's people that are safe and peaceful. Okay, because there are plenty of democratic countries who are not very peaceful, right? Like this one. We're a democratic country, but like there's a fuck ton of fucked up shit that happens in the United States. Really fucked up. Um, and I guess like stuff that you just don't know unless you're living here. And I guess that's the case for everywhere. You know, kind of reminds me when I was first living in New York, and I got my first job. I was working for this art rep company, and so like if you have like a bedspread or a shower curtain or something like that with say like stripes or flowers on it, all of that artwork was originally painted by hand. Okay, and they're made by hand in these studios that are mostly throughout Europe, and they paint them on silk, and then they take that silk and attach it to a piece of paper. There's these big pieces, okay? And then they make tons of them, tons of different like floral patterns, stripe patterns, dots, like abstracts, like all sorts of things. Anything that you've seen on a bedspread, a shower curtain, tablecloths, clothing patterns, curtains, all sorts of things, right? Fashion and home fashion. It's all done on silk, put on paper, and then they stack them, tons of them. And then they send them out to rep studios. So I worked at a rep studio. So we received these enormous suitcases full of artwork in the office. And then we would take that suitcase and we go into Manhattan and go to the area where there's like the fashion district, where there's like the fashion design companies and the home furnishings design companies. And we have to sell the artwork, earn a commission. And I remember going to, geez, what was it? It was like maybe Kenneth Cole or oh geez, no, it wasn't Kenneth Cole, but it was like one of those like upper tier but mainstream fashion brands, like Hugo Boss or shit, I can't remember, but that level. It's like it's not high end, it's not like a fashion house, but it's mainstream, but it's like kind of like upper mainstream, okay, like Tommy Hilfiger or something along those lines. So I went to one of these places, and so I know on the front ends the way they portray themselves as an image. And you see the billboards, you see the storefronts, it's like sleek and black and sophisticated and all this stuff. And I go and I meet with the art director and some of the designers, and I'm showing them the artwork, and it's a fucking clusterfuck madhouse behind the scenes. It's like it was as if nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. And these are like professional. This is like a fashion design company. Okay, nobody knew what the fuck they were doing. It was a madhouse chaos, and I'm like, this can't be just a one-off. Like, this is just how this place functions. But you look at the front end and it's like, oh, glamorous and smooth and sophisticated and all this shit. It's like, that's a bunch of bullshit. It's like everybody's just scrambling just to try to keep things together. And it's like, that's kind of how I see the United States. Like, everybody has this idea, like foreigners, they look at the United States like, oh, like cruel and this and that, like the US, you know, but that's just our marketing. Like, that's just kind of like how we portray ourselves. And I'm not saying this place isn't great. It's a fucking fantastic country, like sometimes, right? And I mean, it has its bad points, like every other country, but the things that go behind the scenes, they are not peaceful in the slightest. Okay. Whenever there's power involved, whenever there's money involved, whenever there's resources involved, there's not going to be peaceful things involved. Okay. Like, you don't do land grabs and things like that and be peaceful, right? Even if you got like the moniker of like, hey, we're democratic. No, it's not really democratic here. Okay. It's that's part of our image. All right. Land of the free, home of the brave, we're this great democracy. No, it's more of an oligarchy, right? It's more of an oligarchy, uh, basically run by corporations, and the government kind of is there, but just as this like mediator between the world and large financial institutions and companies and corporations. Um, they're not. It's not what most people think it is. Now, I understand, like, if you're coming from a country that's like falling apart, their monetary system has gone to shit. They have no infrastructure. There's a lot of crime. There's a lot of disease or whatever. You're probably looking at the U.S. like, holy shit, it's like a godsend. Okay, and I get that, totally get that. And and Vietnam is not like a massive like first world country, but it's funny, just again, maybe it's my age, but that to me is more appealing. Like, it's more appealing that things are just simpler. Right? Like, it's like people are just working, right? It's this idea of working to live rather than working to become somebody. It seems like in the US, like everyone's just trying to become somebody, and if you're not somebody, you're nobody. It's like whatever just happened to like working just to work. Like you're working to live, not living to work. And here it's like people live to work. It's the first thing that comes out of people's mind. You go to a fucking like a dinner party or something like that. What do you do? Because your job is your whole fucking identity. Right? It's like that only happens in places that are like trying to be somebody. It's like, for what? You know? It's like I want to rewind things. I want to go back to where there's things are simpler, where people put family first, where people put community first, um, and not like progress, putting progress first, and the mentality of progress at almost any cost. And that's kind of like how the US has been going for like a very long time. I mean, fuck, that's kind of how we started this place, right? Progress at any cost. We're like, fuck you, England, and fuck you, natives, right? Like, we're progressing here. We're pushing through, We're going to, the whole gold rush and setting the colonies and the whole thing, just how this whole place just came about. It was like, we're putting this together at any fucking cost. And you know, there's some poetry behind that. There's some swagger, that John Wayne, you know, cowboy mentality about things, and yeah, America does have that kind of swagger, but it's at a cost. And to be fair, whatever the stance, whether it's John Wayne or not, there's always a cost. There's always a cost to whatever choices that are made. So whether we have this like so-called democracy with, with an actual oligarchy running things, there are some benefits to that, but there's also a cost. And say like what you were Washington, you were describing in Vietnam, and like what's there, like it's this weird cultural mix, this weird political mix, but there's a different like society there, how people treat one another. Um, it's there's some benefits to that, but there's also a cost. And then, so it's just a matter of like what shit sandwich you want to eat, you know. And I'm tired of eating this shit sandwich in the U.S. Um, there will be things that I miss, like for example, uh, being on the highway and be able to, crack open the throttle of my bike and do, 170 miles an hour if I want to. Like that's not happening on the highways in Vietnam. Like they can like, no, you don't get to ride your bike that fast. I'm sorry. So I'll have to find like somewhere where there's like a track over there or somewhere. I don't know. Um, but there's lots of people with motorcycles, so it's like they've got to be able to ride them fast somewhere. I don't know, you know. I remember when I was there, I was walking around and I'm like, where are the homeless people? Like I don't see any homeless. I mean, I saw a couple of people, and like I was told like they're like kind of like acting, but it was like one. Like I did not see any homeless people. I was like, that's so fucking weird. In a place that's like vastly more poor than say like the United States, you would think there'd be poverty on the street, but it's not. But you go to the US, fuck, go to San Francisco, go to Miami, come to New York, there's tons and tons and tons of homeless people, right? Tons. And it's like, how is that possible? Like, there's so much fucking money in this country, yet we have so many homeless. Like, how is that possible? Oh, because the power don't give a fuck. And that's not very democratic, is it? But that's just the way things roll, you know? I don't know. I'm over it. It's fine, you know. Maybe I'll give up fast riding. It's funny how like that's my concern. I'm like, but I won't be able to ride really fast. but I'll get an adventure bike, and just say like, all right, fuck it, I'm not going fast on the highways anymore, and I will just go into I'll be like a jungle rider. I'll be one of those dudes with like the BMW adventure bikes with all the packs on it and shit, and like Ewan McGregor, and just ride through the jungle. And I want to do that anyways when I'm over there, as like my retirement business, and just get a small fleet of adventure bikes, and then just host riding through like the countryside in Vietnam. And I think that'd be super fun, because the thing is like people are like, oh yeah, you could do ATVs, but the thing is that with ATVs you get people who are inexperienced. Like if you can't ride a motorcycle, you can't get on it. Like you'll fuck it up, you'll fuck yourself up. But any moron can sit on an ATV. You know what I mean? So that would kind of it would filter the quality of the people that would be my clients. Like they would already have to know how to ride, so I wouldn't have to worry about them fucking up or getting hurt or breaking the bike. So it would just be better, it would just be much better. So yep. I don't know what this is in reference to. It's better if you put like complete sentences in there. But anyways, here we are, 11:40. I'm going to put this one to a close and get back to my show. I found this show on what's it called? I found this show on Netflix, and it's this Korean show about this trio of people who work in a noodle shop, but they have these like special powers, and they fight people who are possessed by demons, and they have to kind of like return their souls, into return their souls to the afterlife or some shit like that. It's really really cool show. I like it. Slightly corny, but also mostly very cool. Yeah, big metropolitan areas, because that's where you can survive better if you're homeless, right? So, but who knows? Like maybe like if I go to like a bigger city, say in Vietnam, I'll see more homeless. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm hoping that it means like that the government has a different stance, and they take care of that problem differently. Um, or maybe I was just lucky. When I was walking around, I didn't see any because of just sheer luck. But you walk around in New York, it's like every 10 people, or maybe not, probably more than that. But but it's a regular occurrence where you're on the train, you're walking around, there's people sleeping on the on the sidewalk, people sleeping in the subway, people asking you for money, everywhere you go. Like I don't think unless you don't leave the house, like you can't like go through the day and not be asked for money or see somebody who's like sleeping curled up in a corner on the street, you know. Yes, well, this is just one aspect, but you know, the ones that are in power, they don't give a fuck, right? Because why give a fuck about someone who is not giving you money, right? They're not joining the as a cog in the system, right? To become a taxpayer, right? Or to be a wage earner or something like that. So if you're not one of those things, if you're not like a battery for them to drain, then why the fuck give a shit about you? You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying about the powerful. Like the powerful don't really give a fuck about those that are homeless. You know, I don't see that here. Like think about it, like the like billionaires. Like there's so many fucking billionaires in the United States. Like they could literally eradicate homelessness if they wanted to, but they don't. So I don't think they want to. Um, there's so many rich people here, and they just yes, they don't give a fuck. You know, and I'm saying that they have to. I'm just saying that's the case. Like, I'm not like pulling some morality card on them, saying oh they should, right? I'm just saying they could. Like technically speaking, it can be done in like probably a year. Now maybe a little more time than that, but you get what I'm saying. Very short amount of time, but it's not happening. But yes, partly due to drug abuse, which also we don't really care that much about. Yeah, I mean, you come to New York, there's methadone clinics everywhere. It's like it just this place is great, but it's also not great. Yeah, it really is. But I'm just tired of it. I'm tired. I'm tired of just the. I want to go to a place that's much quieter. Much quieter. People are more cool. You know, there's not dudes like fucking setting fire to people on the subway. You know, shooting people randomly. I don't want to go somewhere. You know, like you go to Times Square. There's cops there that look like they're coming out of like you know, like a Judge Dredd movie, or you know where they've got like riot armor, like black shiny riot armor, carrying like what seems to be like fully on automatic rifles, right? Like that's in Times Square. Like why would I want to like be? I want to be around like chill. You know what I mean? Chill, relaxed, and be able to get into the countryside within 30 minutes. Here, if I get on my bike, it takes me an hour to get out of the city. Then I can enjoy my ride. Okay, and that's with cutting lanes, splitting lanes. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I'm happy to visit these places. Absolutely. Like I'm really looking forward to that, but I don't want to live in any of those places. That's why I like Southeast Asia. It's just much more chill. Yep. I like Vietnam or Thailand. But anyways, so thank you everybody for joining me on this evening's chat. Let's see. Yeah, get in touch if anyone listening, or if you're catching on the replay, if you're interested in going to a boot camp with hosted by James Tusk, and to learn from me in person, that's going to be in April from the 15th to the 22nd, for like dealing with like pickup artistry, as well as working with me about how to handle women in the bedroom. So if you want to do that in-person stuff, get in touch, shoot me an email. That can be done on the website. With the website, I do have a new announcement about that. I've created a quiz. Okay, so It's in the link, but if you go to the website here, let's see if I can share my screen. Let's see here. Sharing here. Okay. So let's choose a different thing here. Oh, no. Right, so this is the website, and if you go in here, you go to the Take the Dominance quiz. All right, so this was designed here by a friend of mine and I. Wait, do you see it? Oh, I got it. Oh, it pulled up a new. Oh shit. Okay, I got to change that. It opens up a new window. Stop sharing. Sorry, bear with me for a second. Yes, here we go. So it's a dominance profile, and so if you go through this, you can book a consultation, but you can also begin your assessment, and then it puts you through like a series of questions, and you can answer, strongly agree or strongly disagree, and you go through all of these. Okay, there's 20 of them, and it will give you, it's just a fun little quiz, and it's best if you answer honestly. But I do have it set up. Did some coding to help set up to prevent people from answering dishonestly, or as best as it can. And so you go through this and you answer all of these questions, and at the end, it'll give you an assessment, okay, to view the profile, and it calibrates everything. And you put in your name, so I'll just say like Bob, and then put in my email, and unlock the profile, and it says, gives me the rating. Okay, so Commanding Dom gives me a score, a little bit of a description here, and then you're given like a web map. It's called your authority map, giving you different weights where you're weighted in different areas, from like presence, sovereignty, power distance, frame, masculine core, and your erotic command, and then a little bit more description about those different things. Okay, and then from here you can so let's break down. I don't know what that glitch was. It's my browser is going crazy, but anyways, so you can, oh boy, what the hell just happened? Yeah, so you can go through that, and then you can download you put in your email, and you can get what's it called, my dominance field guide, and that'll be emailed to you, or you can just sign up for coaching from there. And yeah, it's just a great little quiz, and it can help you sort some things out. All right, I'm going to end this. Looks like my buttons are a little screwed up, but thank you for joining me this evening, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.